Hey, stepmamas, welcome to the Stepmom Unfiltered podcast. This is your go to space for unapologetic, unfiltered conversations about the roller coaster ride of stepmotherhood. We're your hosts. I'm Adrienne.
And I'm Amelia. We understand that being a stepmom is like walking a tightrope in stilettos. So we're here to help you embrace the messiness, laugh through the craziness, and find strength in our shared experiences.
This podcast is more than just a series of episodes, it's a community for stepmoms to be real, raw, and unfiltered. Buckle up because we're about to embark on a journey of candid conversations, taboo topics, and expert insights.
This is the Stepmom Unfiltered podcast, your sanctuary for real talk and real solutions.
Hey, Amelia.
Well, hello again.
I could not be more excited for today's topic. It is probably one of the um, juiciest, most controversial, and there's widely differing views. And I love that. I
Yes.
love the different opinions on it. So, with that, let's jump in. Let's not keep everyone waiting to know.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about Mother's Day. It's right
Yeah.
around the corner, and it really is a controversial topic when you're in a step family and you're a stepmom. Should you be celebrated? Should you not? What does that look like? And everyone has crazy differing views. We've
They do.
seen
Yeah.
we've seen it all.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive in. What are your views on stepmoms being celebrated on Mother's Day, and how do you navigate Mother's Day as a stepmom?
Yeah. I've always looked at Mother's Day for myself the same way I've looked at it when I celebrate Father's Day for my stepdad. I think that step parents should be celebrated. I think that they most often play a vital role in their stepchild's life, one way or another. And I think that it's a great idea for kids to, be taught and encouraged to celebrate the people in their life. Um, so yeah, I personally see no problem with it. I think that to a degree, children should celebrate their step parents. But I also know that that is very complex.
Yeah.
It's not a simple answer. So yeah, we
Yeah,
can
you're
we
right.
can.
It's not a simple answer, and it is different for everyone, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Like you, I do agree with that. I also feel like why not, right?
Mhm.
Why why not have more celebration, right? It's more people loving on your children. Why should they not be celebrated? It doesn't mean that it has to take away from Mother's Day and Father's Day and what those days are.
Right.
But my feeling on it is, as a stepmom, you play a motherly role
Yeah.
in your home. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you replace the mother. Let me say that again. It does not mean that you replace the biological mother. It
Right.
just means that that's the role you play in your home
In
on
your
your
home.
time.
And as a mother, do you does it not make you feel better to know that your child has this motherly, role model looking out for them
Yeah.
in the other home when you can't be there? And I know that's a huge topic and that involves a lot of healing, um, on the part of the mother, right?
Yeah.
I'm not ignorant to the fact that I totally understand, how that can be difficult. But when you can like flip it and look at it from a different perspective, how wonderful is it that your child has, another mother looking out for them,
Yeah,
right?
1000%. And as a mom, like a biological mom and a stepmom, I get
Hmm.
to experience both sides of it, right? And
Right.
I very very early on took the approach of, I want to make sure that this other woman and this other mother in my children's lives is somebody that they appreciate and respect,
Right.
and that she equally gets celebrated. The reality is that 50% of the time she's being mom. And
Yep.
so why wouldn't I want my children to celebrate that? It's somebody that they love and care for, and somebody that's going to be a part of their life for a long time. And she equally earns that right and that role. And she earns that right by filling that role. And
Hmm.
yeah, like I said, it's why not have more celebration? Why not have
Yeah.
more positivity and good in the world? It doesn't have to, it doesn't take away from anything that I do.
No.
And my way of dealing with that, um, was finding her strengths and
Mhm.
realizing that they're very different than my strengths. And that was
Right.
something that when we called that to light, we could bond over and
Mhm.
realize that neither of us was taking away from each other. And there's
Right.
things that my girl's stepmom does, like she can sew. I touch a sewing machine and it breaks. I can't
Right.
sew to save my life. Like I can sew a
Yeah.
button back on by hand and it might stay for another few weeks if we're lucky. And even that,
Yeah.
this is not going to happen.
Yeah.
So things like that, I'm like, oh, hey, can
Yeah.
you take this to, your dad's house and see if
Mhm.
she can do that? And
Mhm.
I tried to find things that were her strengths that were not my strengths and that I could draw out. And I
Right.
just yeah, I don't see a drawback to celebrating stepmoms on Mother's Day. Um,
Yeah, I don't either. This isn't just for Mother's Day, but just teaching values of, valuing people in your life, right? And valuing, doing something nice for someone who cares about you, right? Whether it's making a card, buying a card, making a craft, making a meal, like whatever it is that you're doing, buying a gift. Um, that's another opportunity to teach kids,
mhm,
to do something for someone else. And that's what I really like about those type of holidays in our family, because it is an opportunity, a teaching opportunity for the kids, which my daughter being 15 now, like she on her own will, at Christmas, she's got her little list of who she's buying for, and she does it all herself, and she does a really good job actually of doing gifts for people. But that's because we've taught her to do that, right?
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's the same in our home. Our kids all buy for each other, even when they don't have to, or they buy for the
Hmm.
other parents or the other siblings in the other homes.
Yeah.
And even though we tell them like you don't need to do that, they're like, "What I want to," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, yeah, that's good. I like
Yeah.
that. It's because you're
Yeah.
doing it for the right reasons and you're doing it genuinely."
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So what does Mother's Day look like in your home? I mean, you're a mom, a stepmom, you've got an ours
Hmm.
baby, you've got different
Yeah.
dynamics. How do you guys navigate that? What does it look like?
Yeah, it's the unfiltered podcast, so I'm going to go all unfiltered here for you. It has been something that I have really struggled with, uh, because I love my stepdaughter very much. Um, but for the first, geez, I'm going to say 10, 11 years, she woke up with us on every Mother's Day at our home. And I just always felt like, as much as I love being her stepmom, and we just had the conversation about I love being appreciated and all the things, I just always felt like she should wake up with her mom on Mother's Day. Um, so that's something that I just always struggled with in my own head, because it's always been tradition here that the kids, I'm doing air quotes, make me breakfast, which most of the time consists of a banana and a little container of yogurt.
Oh, well, at
And
least
my
that's edible.
It is, and my coffee, which, they just have to push the button and it makes itself. Um, so yeah, and I guess I always wondered when she was younger, was it weird for her, she's coming in our room and the kids are bringing my tray of, things for breakfast, and she would always kind of just stand off to the side. Um, she doesn't crawl into bed or anything like that, because it's just not the relationship that we have. So it would be unnatural and weird if she did.
Mm,
Um, but she always like would bring me a card, and sometimes she'd made me something at school or whatever the case may be. Um, but I always felt like, not that I didn't want her around, but that I wanted her to be with her mom, to wake up and celebrate with her mom that day. And it always bothered me that she wasn't. Um, so yeah, the last couple of years she has been with her mom, and I think that's great. And she has texted me. Um, And like last year, she was here a few days later and brought me a beautiful picture that she had picked out for me. And I appreciate it very much, but I was happy that she was with her mom
Mhm.
to spend that day together. Just I think that's important. Like I want to spend the day with my kids. I think her mom would want to spend the day with her. So yeah, it just it's difficult to put into words because I do love her and I obviously want to spend time with her and all of that. But at the same time, I just, I want her to be with her mom.
Yeah, yeah, and that's fair,
I
and that's yeah, I mean, and that's how our schedule was set, was that no matter whose day it was for regular schedule,
Mhm.
if it was Mother's Day or Father's Day, then the kids would go to that person's house, for
Right.
that day. Um,
Yeah.
even that, we it just depends on how the schedules fall, right? And,
Yeah.
there's been plenty of Mother's Days that my stepdaughter has woken up with us and then goes to her mother's, and yeah, it's been interesting, to see reactions to that and how you handle it, um, and you're
Yeah.
right, it is about spending time. I also think we've taken the approach in our home that we can celebrate anything on any day. Um,
Yeah, you have to learn to do that.
yeah, it doesn't have to be
Yep.
that specific day. So,
Mhm.
um, I think it depends on your perspective and how you choose to approach things.
Yeah, and I guess, again, being just totally transparent because the relationship with my stepdaughter has not been exactly what I've always envisioned. It's not been this picture perfect, like we have this wonderful, strong connection, best of friends that I thought that we would have. Um, so that does make it challenging, especially on Mother's Day when I have two of my own kids who, are so eager to come and bring me breakfast and crawl into bed, and sit with me
Mhm.
and talk the morning away and, all of those things. And then my stepdaughter is there just and again, she's very pleasant and, she's not rude or anything. It's just
Right.
it is different. It just is. Um, and I will chalk that up to the fact that we've never been able to just really get there with our bond due to loyalty binds, the custody schedule,
Yeah, host of reasons.
a host of reasons. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, it's just a really challenging thing, and I think so many stepmoms end up feeling guilt and shame because they're kind of in that same boat. They have just these very mixed emotions, and they don't, they don't know how they're supposed to feel, and
Mhm.
then they do feel a certain way, and they just feel like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I feel this way," and you know,
Yeah.
it's just very complex. It is.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. You said something when you were talking about the gift side of Mother's Day. And I know in our home, we always encouraged the kids to make cards and make gifts. And I would
Mhm.
look, at Pinterest things to come up with
Yes.
ideas,
Mhm.
and we've done, a variety of different things over the years. And I
Yeah.
think that that's great. But you mentioned when they make gifts in school. And
Yeah.
I think that there's a real opportunity for teachers to understand, step families, and understand that when there are blended families or step families, that, allowing kids to make two of something really
Mhm.
costs no more money and takes no more time, in the grand scheme of it all.
Yeah.
And it makes such a huge impact. I can't tell you how many times my kids
Yes.
came home with making something for Mother's Day or Father's Day, and they were like, "But I only have one."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I always said to them, "You decide who that goes to. You
Yeah.
made it, and you
Mhm.
know what it means to you and who you think will appreciate it most, and that's what gifts are about, and it's not about anything else." And then there were several years that, um, they my kids just started asking their teachers, "Can I make 2?" And they would say, "I have 2 moms. I have 2 dads."
Yeah.
And teachers would say yes. I mean, we didn't have issues with it. But I do think
Mhm.
it's something that if teachers can understand the difference it can make in a child's
Absolutely.
life, and the difference and the peace it can bring for that child, that's
Yeah.
so impactful. Um,
I think that's a great point. I think a lot of teachers maybe just don't they don't even consider it, right?
Right.
And again, you're dealing with little people that don't always know how to speak up about these things. Like, hey,
Right.
I do have a stepmom that I would like to make a card for, or I do have a stepdad that I'd like to draw this picture for.
Mhm.
Kids aren't always the best at advocating. So, yeah, any teachers out there listening,
Well,
here's your sign.
and for moms, bio moms listening, right? Like
Hmm.
if your kid makes something for their stepmom, it doesn't mean that they don't love you,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there
Yeah.
were plenty of times my stepdaughter brought me things that she made at school, and the minute mom would find out, we had World War III, and it's like, look, if you want it, here you go. But
Yeah.
that's not the point of it. And
Right.
you're fighting a different battle, and that's a different conversation.
And
Don't
that
put
again comes from an insecurity that doesn't
Yeah,
come because a child colored with some crayons on some paper, right?
right,
Like
right.
it wasn't ever about the picture that she colored.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Um, one more thing I wanted to talk about too, though, was another hot topic around all holidays, Mother's Day as well, though, is, how do you navigate buying gifts for the ex? And do you do you help your stepkids buy a gift for the ex or do you not? Um,
I love this topic. I love this
yeah,
topic so much
I do
because
too. And I think it's so important to talk about.
yeah, it is. And now it's my turn to be really unfiltered. So, when my husband and I met, he used to take my stepdaughter shopping for her mother, and her mother would send a list of lavish gifts. And when I came into the picture, I was like, "What? I, I, like if you're listening and not looking at our video, the shock on my face is what you'd be seeing." Um, and I was like, "No,
Yeah.
that's not how this is going to roll."
Yeah.
Kids need to be taught the value of gifts, and it's not monetary. It's
Right.
about appreciation and showing somebody their gratitude for being in that role or spending time with them or whatever it is. And
Hmm.
so, when it comes to Mother's Day and Father's Day, our kids will all be given equal opportunity to make cards and make gifts, and they can be as elaborate crafts as you want. And we will go
Yeah.
buy all the supplies they ever ask for. But we are not going and buying name brand this or name brand that. And it is not
No.
about the dollar value on a gift. And that's what
Yeah.
we did. We completely pivoted and we taught the kids it's about, showing your appreciation for someone, and making something that you think that they will appreciate. Now, as the kids have gotten older, there's things like, there's great stores like Hobby Lobby and Target that have little things that are affordable. And it might be, a
Sure.
shirt that says like dog mom because that person's a dog lover, or a
Right.
coffee mug, right? Like
Yeah.
something that's very appropriate and that's
Hmm.
within a very reasonable budget. But
Right.
we have always made it about the gratitude, not the dollar value on a
The
gift.
value.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have always helped my daughter, whether it's making something or buying something. Um, we've taken the same role. Like we always facilitate it one way or another.
Right.
Just kind of depends. It just there's not really any rhyme or reason whether she makes something or we buy something. Um, I always do encourage her to like, what do you want to get? I when she was younger, I would often just take the reins and we're gonna get your mom this because I know that she'll like it. As she's gotten older, I really encourage her to, what do you think your mom would like? Like, what would you like to do? And then we facilitate that for her. But I'm gonna, again, being very transparent here, like there's been some years where I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like I actually despise having to do this. Um, and the only reason that I am doing this is for my stepdaughter. And I'll say, as a again child of divorce, I remember being at the mall with my dad and him letting me pick something out for my mom. Like he would take me shopping to go and buy a gift for my mom for Christmas or Mother's Day or whatever. Um, and I appreciate that as an adult. I look back and I appreciate that he, as difficult as it probably was for him, I appreciate that, and that is, why the years when I'm like, I really don't want to do this.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we're playing the long game here. And it's not actually about me. It's about my stepdaughter being able to give her mom something. Otherwise, how is she going to do that if her parents don't help her, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It's important. It's the values we're instilling in them.
right.
Um, and if you can focus on that and you can focus on what's right for the children involved,
Hmm.
then I think most of the time you will make the right decision about how to handle the tough situations. And it makes, you know, getting through the things that we don't want to do a little bit easier because we're doing it for the right reasons, even when we don't
Yeah.
want to be.
And, boundaries come into play here too. Like there has been years where I am just like not in a place to be participating. So, my husband and I will have a conversation about the budget and like here's where I think you should probably like here's the store I think you should go and look around, but I'm out on
Yeah.
this one, you know?
Yeah,
Um
that's fair.
and yeah, I think as a stepmom, like that's perfectly okay if you don't want to necessarily participate in it. Um, but still allowing your partner to not allowing, you're not,
Well,
you're not their gatekeeper, but you know, still encouraging them that, I don't want to participate in this, but I still think it's important and it's your child, so have at her,
yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So
Hmm.
important. Yeah, Mother's Day brings a lot of controversy and a lot of emotions for both moms and stepmoms and the family dynamics and there's also equally a lot of step families out there that can spend days like that together and
Yeah.
there's no problems and that's wonderful and beautiful um and I know for our family there's one Mother's Day we were able to spend, together with my mom, my girl's
Yeah.
stepmom, myself and
I
it
remember
was
that
it
year.
was really cool and I
Hmm.
wish we could do that every year. And the reality
Yeah.
is that we can't, and that's okay too. It doesn't make
Yep.
either side bad or wrong. It's just the dynamics and the times.
Yeah.
So I think the most important thing is that you do what works for you and your
Yes.
family, and don't push yourself to be in an uncomfortable situation because you see the highlight reels on Instagram of mom
Right.
and stepmom getting along and being best friends. That's great when it can happen, and that's not the situation
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
everyone. So it's not the standard you have
Exactly.
to live up to.
Right. Yeah. There are so many moving parts to the mom and stepmom relationship and just all the dynamics. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's important for moms to know that 99.9% of the time, stepmoms are not trying to take away from you,
not
your
at all.
relationship, your day, air quotes again.
Yeah.
Um, and for moms to remember that stepmoms should be celebrated too. They pour a lot into your children and they're there when you're not because they're
Not
not in your home. And it doesn't mean you're not there because you don't want to be, but they're still giving when they don't have to.
right.
And that deserves some gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you've enjoyed this or you want more on this, there is a blog on our website, theartofblendedchaos.com, that talks all about what does it talk about, Amelia?
It's called Navigating Mother's Day as a Stepmom. There's a few I guess questions on there that you can just kind of go through and ask yourself and answer just to maybe help bring some clarity because there is just such mixed emotions. So
Yeah.
yeah, check that out on our website, theartofblendedchaos.com.
Awesome. Have a good one.
A quick disclaimer to cover our asses. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on today's episode are the speaker's own, so if you didn't like them, why didn't you turn this off sooner?
The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. If you need support with a specific topic, you can do so by booking a one-on-one coaching call through our website, theartofblendedchaos.com. This podcast is not intended to replace professional, legal, or medical advice. You seriously didn't think we were lawyers or doctors, did you?